What would you say you do here?
Hi, this is Mark Graven. This is the second episode where we are talking to employees at KaiNexus about what they do, what's a typical day in the life like, and what's something that they're interested in after work. So today we're joined by Clint Corley. Here's our conversation. So the question we ask everyone here is, so what would you say you do here?
So my official title here is Enterprise Account Executive. All of that means is that I work on the sales side of our house. So it's ultimately my responsibility to get new customers in the door. Ultimately, that's the goal of my position. In the execution of that, though, what I really have to do is have an understanding of what that potential customer is trying to solve, a grasp of kind of their problem statement, if you will. I've got to make sure that KaiNexus can actually help. That's usually a key part of it as well. And then navigating the ins and outs of whatever their internal evaluation and buying process is. It's different for every organization that we work with. It's different for every customer that we work with. Some are very simple. Some tend to be a little bit more lengthy. And it's my job to make sure we get all that figured out.
Yeah, and you say the sales side, and KaiNexus, I think from what I've seen, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, doesn't have real deep, heavy silos. Like you're sitting in an Austin with office, you're not separated by walls or barriers to customer experience and other people who are there in Austin, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I sit in what we lovingly refer to as the Gemba here in Austin, which is essentially just a large room with 6 desks kind of pushed together. So I sit across the way from Noah Peratore, who is a bit of a jack of all trades for us. I sit right next to our 2 account managers. I sit next to our training manager. And then I also sit just down the way from Matt Bana, who again is a product expert here, and so it's always nice to have that type of diversity from a role standpoint, all in the same room. We hear feedback from each other. I get to hear direct feedback from what our current customers are saying, areas where they may be struggling, and then try to apply those things before customers come in to try to get ahead of any sort of potential issue or potential roadblock that we may see. And I think it's great, right? There's no walls, there's no borders here. There's not a culture where the sales group doesn't talk to the customer experience group, or the customer experience group doesn't talk to the operations group. When you have silos like that, obviously things tend to get disconnected, and thankfully that's not how things work here, which is great.
Yeah, and I think that's something as KaiNexus grows, we'll have to stay mindful of, because big companies a lot of times have some sort of big initiative where the one blank, or that they're emphasizing, we're going to be one company again, and KaiNexus hasn't ever lost that. I think it's one team, and we've got people in Austin, we've got the tech team in Dallas. So I was curious to follow up when you talk about making sure that KaiNexus, that we can help deliver what the customer needs. How do you interact with the tech team or customer experience if there are questions, or are you making sure we're not over promising to a customer?
Yeah, that's a great question. Look, one of the responsibilities of someone who works in the pre-sales side, which is me, right before customers, and all pre-sales mean is before a customer comes online. There's a responsibility there from me and from Jeff, who's my boss, and really from anyone who wants to be a professional salesperson, to be honest and forthright. When we don't know something, say, hey, you know what? I don't know the answer to that question, but let me write it down and let me go find you the truthful and honest answer for it. Like we were talking about earlier, it's a little bit easier here because I sit across the way from our product experts here. And then of course, the development group is a phone call away. And so my typical course of action is to ask some of our product experts that are here in Austin, because I'm in the Austin office. If it's a question that they can't answer, They have direct lines. I do as well, but they have direct lines into the dev group where we can sit in on a call or sit down on a work session and get something answered. And if it's a problem that potentially a number of other customers are trying to solve, then it helps us prioritize product roadmap items and development features and things of that nature as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, if there is such thing, what's a typical day in the life of Clint Corley look like? What types of things are you doing?
Yeah, great question. So I thought to answer that, I would just pull up my calendar and just look at a typical day. And I think that I think that last Monday would be a wonderful day. I started off my day on what we call a discovery call, which is just the first call when someone expresses interest in KaiNexus. Right after that, I had a call with a legal group with a customer that we're working with, followed by another discovery call with a new customer. Had some internal meetings as well. That day, Jeff and I have meetings scheduled where we do what's called run the pipe. And all essentially we do is look at all of our open opportunities and discuss which ones are doing well, which ones may not be doing as well, how we improve the ones we don't do well. So that would be a typical day, making sure that I'm communicating with customers I'm working with, making sure that I am helping customers that have expressed interest in KaiNexus, making sure that our ducks are in the row internally from the sales side. And then every now and then I'll have the privilege or I'll get looped into doing things that are potentially more strategic, looking at things like our pricing model and how we bring customers on board and making sure that the feedback we're hearing from customers is affecting the changes that we make in our processes. And so it's really nice to have the freedom and flexibility and trust, honestly, to participate in those types of things instead of just, hey, this is your computer, this is your workspace, and you just deal with your customers and that's your purview. It's nice to have a little range.
Yeah. And Jeff, you mentioned, is Jeff Roussel, our VP of sales, and I'm sure we'll get Jeff on here to talk about his role and how things work from his perspective. So, Clint, thank you for talking about, what it is that you do at KaiNexus, but, we're also asking everybody to talk about, what's something outside of work that's a particular interest or hobby or passion of yours?
Yeah, great question. I thought about that. Pardon me. I thought about that a little bit over the last few days, and I think ultimately I just like to try new things. It really could be anything, new cuisine, a new joint to go hang out downtown. It could be skydiving, which is still on my bucket list, right? A little wine and painting with a canvas and whatever they call it, right? Where you go and you drink some wine and you paint some stuff. It really doesn't matter. I want to, right. It's not about how long you live. It's about how much life you live in your years. And so part of that for me is trying new things, having new experiences, traveling to places as much as I can, and just being around people, because I love people and I love to be around people.
Well, cool. Well, maybe we'll do another podcast down the road where we'll do some sort of theme about what were the new things you did this year. I'm sure you have a lot of new adventures ahead. But thank you for joining us here, Clint Corley from KaiNexus. Clint, really, really good talking to you, and always, it's great collaborating with you and working with you. I appreciate it.
Likewise, Mark. I appreciate you having me on today.